Welcome back to the It Starts With You podcast. Today, we have the privilege of having Erin Slutsky on the podcast. Erin has been a speaking client, a great connection networker, and what's so fun is that we live in the same area, which we don't always get to do when we have people on the podcast. So, Erin, thank you so much for joining us.
This is so exciting to be here.
I'm so excited for our conversation, and so I want to share with you a little bit more about who Erin is and why I wanted her to come on the podcast. So Erin holds space for women who want to find the courage, which is one of my favorite words, to be seen so that they can be more vulnerable to build connection and authenticity. Her over 25 years of leading and mentoring women, along with her nursing background, enables her to support and coach with her expertise. She's also an accredited Enneagram practitioner, which we're definitely going to talk about today, providing her with a powerful tool for self-awareness, which we know is so important. Erin has spoken to women's groups around the country, colleges, and corporate teams. Erin and her husband of 31 years, which congratulations.
Yep.
Erin live in Bristol, Wisconsin, and have 4 adult daughters and a 4-year-old granddaughter. She enjoys hiking, outdoor live music events, and yoga. Okay, so I love to give the bio and give people all the things, but I also want to hear it in your own words. So Erin, just tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
So, you hear your own bio and it's just so interesting because it's like, oh, yeah.
I did
And
that.
I did that. But I always seem to focus on my family, especially with my husband, whose name is Aaron too. So if you ever hear me talking about Aaron, it's not me, it's him. But it makes it easy for people to remember who we are. 31 years. I mean, it's unheard of these days.
Mhm.
And so we're actually getting ready to go on a trip to celebrate. And I wish I had the Enneagram way back then,
Mm.
because since that has entered our marriage, we have become really good friends.
Mm.
And that's something I really wanted to happen, especially with our daughters leaving the nest. So we enjoy spending time together, especially in the summer when we go to different outdoor live music events and just sit and talk and listen to music. Like we just saw REO Speedwagon at the
Mhm.
state fair. So,
Mhm.
and then of course spending time with our daughters, and raising 4 daughters is quite an accomplishment.
I was going to say
And
congratulations.
you know, I wish I could go back and do it again because I enjoyed it so much.
Mm.
And so just, my heart explodes when I think of them. And I love seeing who they are becoming, which kind of goes into my coaching business. I love working with women and watch them turn into who they really want to become and just be a part of that journey.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, so many things you said. It's 31 years, like you said, it's not that common anymore. And it is, I
Yeah.
mean, it's just growing with a person. You think of all the different stages that you go through as you mature and you get into these, you grow as a person and, you
Hmm.
might become more of who you were. You might really, change. Now you have to do it together. Much less when you have children, much less with 4 daughters. Like that is a huge accomplishment. And I want to dive more into what you were talking about with the Enneagram because I'm so curious around like, how did you discover the Enneagram, and tell us more about like what it is, but then also how has it
Yeah.
turned you into friends that have allowed you to grow together?
So the Enneagram, if those of you who don't know, Ennea means 9. Gram, think of points on a diagram, and there's 9 different Enneagram types. So it's like a personality assessment. Um, but I discovered the Enneagram when my girls started leaving the nest, and I'm like, wait, who am I?
Hmm.
Right? My role as a mom had changed. I'll always be a mom, but the role was changing and it wasn't as focused on them. And I'm looking around going, "Oh, wait, what do I want to do? What do I like? What is my purpose? Who am I?" And the Enneagram helped me figure that out. So imagine having a tool that gives you language to explain how you see things, helps you understand why you do what you do, and it creates empathy for others and yourself. So when I found this tool, I was just like, this is what I needed to help me along that journey of going deeper into who I really am rather than who I've been told to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, interesting story, when I found my type, there's a lot of online assessments that you can take, and I even have one, and I will admit it's not 100% accurate because
Mm.
it's not taking into account your mood or your frame of mind or your body language. And so that's why I always offer like a conversation after you take my test, because I want to make sure you're headed in the right direction. Because when I first took the test, I came up with an Enneagram type 1, which is considered the perfectionist. And I'm like,
Mm.
yes, I like things to be perfect. And then I took it again along the way. I don't remember why, but I came up with a type 3, and I read the description and I'm like, oh, I don't want things to be perfect. I want them to look perfect.
Mm.
There's a difference. There's an appearance. There's a presentation in that type 3, which is considered
Mm-hmm.
the achiever, that made that difference. It also, as I was reading the description, it was like one of those things where I was like, wait, where is that hidden camera? How did it know what was going on in my heart, in my head? And I felt known and understood. And so I've just kind of stuck with this particular personality assessment to help me coach my clients better because I know where they're coming from. I kind of like if you're an Enneagram type 6, I'd put those lenses on and see
Mm-hmm.
things through your perspective and speak to you in a different way. And it gives my clients a tool to do the work themselves.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so many things that you said, I jotted them down as you were talking because the who I am versus who I was told to be, like we've talked about that
Mhm.
in the podcast before around, one of the things that I tell my clients about is this bag of who, or this like who bag that I had first learned when I got certified as a coach, where we take all of these things that we were told throughout our lives that we were or that we weren't, and we put them into this bag. And then we carry this over our shoulder, making choices based on what's in that bag. But until we take that like
Mhm.
off of our shoulder and dig through it and unpack and go like, how true is this for me really? Then we're making choices that might not actually be who we are. And so I love that when you have this assessment that it's helping people to kind of put on that lens of like, not what have I been told or who have I been told I am, but who am I really? Because I think a lot of people are missing that awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the key, is that self-awareness, noticing, why am I doing this? And questioning, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it this way? Right? And is this important to me or is it important to someone else? So it's all about motives. It's all about keeping your values a priority. And you need to know your values pretty clearly. And the Enneagram just kind of helps you stay in tune with that.
Hmm. What do you see like for yourself and with the clients that you work with are some of the biggest changes when they become more aware of who they are and how they operate?
I would definitely say on the top of the list is self-acceptance. Understanding that, oh, this isn't um, a flaw. This isn't
Mm.
something that's wrong with me that needs to be fixed. This is the way I function, and this is what I'm afraid of. This is what trips me up. I can navigate around it, but I don't have to shame myself. I don't have to um, judge myself for being a certain way. I need to embrace it and harness that energy or whatever that is considered a flaw or a weakness and use it in a positive way.
I love that self acceptance. How often do we just like fight ourselves and try and hide away the things that maybe we feel shame about or we don't like? And I'm so curious,
Mhm.
Erin. So, having worked in, I've worked in organizations and we've done different personality assessments, and now I use an attitudinal assessment. And there's so many benefits to all the different assessments. One of the things that I notice with different personality assessments is sometimes people put themselves in a box, and or they can make excuses for themselves or others in saying, well, that's just how I am. So what is one of the things that how do you help clients when you bring this with individuals or with teams to not get stuck in that, like putting themselves in a box and or putting other people in a box?
Right. I like to describe it as the Enneagram doesn't put you in a box, it describes the box you're in. So again, that self-acceptance, it's that self-awareness of, oh, I'm an Enneagram type 3. And so one of the things that I avoid at all costs is failure. And so if I see failure coming down the road, I have a choice. I can either face it head on and say, okay, there's just no way around it. I'm going to learn from it. Or I can look at it and say, failure's coming. I'm going to avoid it and quit. Or I'm going to make it look like I didn't fail, make it appear better than it is. And so it helps you make a conscious decision how you are going to approach those things. Um, I have, with anything, like you said, the Enneagram, it can be used as a weapon. It's like, oh, she's just an 8, right? Or you are typing people by their behavior. And that's one thing I like about the Enneagram. It talks about your motivations, your motives behind the behavior, because I can be controlling and struggle with anger, but that doesn't mean I'm a type 8 or 9 or 1. Because people are just seeing how I act. They don't know why I am. And so that understanding, that compassion, that again, self-acceptance of, okay, I can either be told I'm a type 3, so you are struggling with failure all the time. Or I can say failure is an issue for me. What am I going to do with it? Because we all fail, right? So it gives you that option to choose what to do.
I love that you just said that choice, because I think that's the thing is it's coming down to self-awareness, which I know we're both really passionate about people having. Is the more you are aware of yourself and how you show up and how you act and why and where that's coming from, then I want to say, like, reclaim the power of choice. Because when we feel like things are outside of our control, then we're giving our power to everybody else. And so, like, when we have that choice, so this is allowing people to not only have the understanding, but then make the choice about what they want to do with that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
What do you see as some of the biggest, so self-acceptance, what do you see as some of the biggest sort of external changes for people when they really start implementing what they learn from this?
I definitely see a confidence or even boldness. Just because they are sure of who they are. They don't have to worry about pleasing everyone else. They're not looking to other people to validate them, because they know who they are without excuse, and they can present themselves authentically.
What would you say to somebody who's listening, who's like, okay, I haven't taken the Enneagram, I'm not ready to take it yet, maybe, or maybe you are, contact Erin, but they just want to become more self-aware, because they're sitting there going, like, I'm feeling, what I always notice for people is, like, usually when you're not aware, you're misaligned, right? So you're feeling off from something. So what would be one thing that you would tell them that they could start to do to build this awareness of themselves?
Well, one thing that can be really easy to do is to pay attention to what your body is telling you. Are your shoulders tense like this? Do you have like a stomach ache or even a headache when you're walking into work because you rather work at home, but you've been told you got to go back? What is your body doing, and paying attention to that? How is your breathing? Is it really shallow and up in the upper part of your chest? Or are you able to relax and just take deep breaths and be at peace? So our bodies tell on us. They don't lie. And they will be our first indicators of something's not right. And so questioning, What's this about? Another thing I like to teach is tapping into your emotions. It's so helpful to be able to identify how we feel. And it could be just happy or sad, angry or peaceful, but there's so many intricacies in between that. But when we can identify what we're feeling and the emotions that are connected to it, we can ask those things. What are you here to teach me? Right? Because it's another indicator of something is happening, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. And I don't like to label emotions good or bad. I just want to ask them, okay, I'm angry. What's going on? Oh, I'm tired. And so that's why my fuse is short. Or I'm hurt. So digging into your emotions is another great way to be self-aware.
Oh, I love that. I wrote that down. Like, what are you here to teach me?
Yeah.
People tend to, and I'm sure you see this, people like shove these emotions down and they keep pushing them down because they're supposed to be this certain way. You know, at work, I'm not supposed to lay my cards out that I'm feeling vulnerable or that I'm, feeling inadequate, or so I'm just gonna keep shoving it down. I'm gonna keep putting this front on until I always say they always come spilling out, and
Yep.
being able to label those. But I love just I'm gonna start doing that, like asking, like when I feel that emotion, once I've identified it, what are you here to teach me? I love that.
Yeah.
So I love to dig in even deeper. So we understand a little bit more about why you started using the Enneagram and what it's done for you and what you've seen it do for clients. And when you start to become more aware, you feel self-acceptance and you feel more confident, right? And we know when we feel more confident, we can take bigger, bolder action. So I love that. What led you to this though, Erin? So I'm curious, like, what were you feeling? Where were you that it was like, okay, I need to make a change and I need to do this thing?
So we're going to go back probably a little over 10 years when I was in, I'll just call it a group of people that became really close, like, and it was like family, kind of that atmosphere of like we did life together. And I came across something I was reading and I was like, wait a minute, is that true? And I had realized that what I had been learning in this group was not accurate. And I felt lied to. And I felt betrayed. And I started questioning myself, like, why did I believe this? Why did I go along with this? And I was beating myself up a little bit too. I was even asking or like questioning myself, and I realized I wasn't trusting myself. I was trusting other people to tell me what was right, what was wrong, what was good, what was bad, instead of trusting my gut. And so once I started questioning and getting curious about what I had been learning, it really motivated me to dig for the truth and learn to trust myself and what my intuition tells me.
Ooh, thank you for sharing that. And I love that, self-trust is like one of the biggest things when we can trust ourselves instead of all of the other people, like what happens for us. And I know this is something that you and I have been digging into. So as you grow your speaking, so obviously, Erin, you do, coaching with people and you do the Enneagram workshops. And now Erin is crafting her amazing keynote talk. And so we've been working together on how do we bring all of these pieces of you and your story and all of the things you do to even larger audiences to help people and sharing that message. And so I know this is a big piece of it. So tell us a little bit more about what that journey has been like of digging into some of that vulnerability for you and bringing this out into your story.
Yeah, vulnerability, I've been playing around with that word even a little bit. And like at its essence, I imagine a naked baby that is vulnerable, that is that needs protection, that needs care. And since babies, we've learned to look for that safety and security. right? That's normal. That's just part of, but sometimes we go a little too far. We overprotect and don't let people in. We don't allow people to get to know us. And so that can lead us to a very isolated and lonely place. And like the US Surgeon General has recently said, loneliness is now an epidemic. And I think loneliness has always been an issue, but with COVID, it rose to the top of everyone's awareness. And so now we're post-COVID and we're still struggling with loneliness in unique ways. So with my keynote, I am bringing that to your awareness of where you are maybe self-sabotaging. It's good to set boundaries, right? To protect yourself from harm. But sometimes those boundaries become walls and they become a fortress. And no one can come in and you can't get out. And I don't think that's what we were intended to be, behind a wall so overly protected. Another way we can find ourselves in lonely places is when we are just that self-sufficient and I can do it, I don't need anybody, and we push people away. And so they get the message, oh, she doesn't need me, I'll stay away. And yet you find yourself saying, okay, why isn't anyone helping me? Where is everyone? Well, you've sent that message. You don't need anyone. So everyone's doing other things. And so that's another way where we can find ourselves in alone in what we're doing, especially when I think of corporate women who have worked their butts off to get to where they are, and they are pouring their hearts and souls out for their team or their organization. And then they look around and say, wait, where's my support? Where's my help? Who can I confide in? And those are the women I really like to work with. Yeah, another way that I know I have found myself specifically protecting myself is when I put on kind of like this mask of being perfect, right? Like we had talked about before. I've got everything together. You look at my Instagram reels and it looks polished and perfect, put together. But you know what? It's not reality, right? I mean, you look at my background right now and my shirt, of course, I've got to coordinate.
Yeah, I love it. You always, your colors are always so perfectly on brand, Erin.
But I like green and I enjoy the aesthetic of it. I enjoy the beauty of that. Nothing wrong with that unless it goes overboard or if I'm hiding the mess on my desk. You don't need to see that. That might be distracting to you. But that is another way where we put something between us and others, maybe to protect ourselves from judgment, being judged, and presenting ourselves in a way that's not real or authentic. People want to get to know who we are, not who we, appear to be. And so when we're feeling in a place of just being lonely, I don't feel like anyone knows me. Maybe you need to look around and say, okay, where am I keeping people at bay because I don't want them to see what's really going on.
I love that you shared those. And when we've talked through it, it's just so powerful because I think we can all at times see ourselves in those different types of situations. And like you said, it's so fascinating to me in a world where we are more connected than ever in terms of we can talk to people in a million different ways. We can hop on Zoom. We can go on a phone call. We can do, LinkedIn messages and any other type, Instagram and Facebook. And like we can contact people in a million ways. And people can get information about everybody and anybody at any time. We are feeling more lonely, right? Because there's superficial relationships or situations where you can protect yourself by not actually building a deep connection or letting down that wall or that mask. And we're seeing what you said, not only epidemic, but we're seeing burnout rates. We're seeing, rates of anxiety, depression, all of that going up because we've lost, that sense of that connection. And so the work that you're doing is so powerful. And I know that so many people feel that way, especially, when I'm working with, executives and business owners and high performers. Like, the higher you get up and the more you take on, the more that you need support, but the more that we tend to push away. We've got it. I've got it. I can do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, that's another level of self-awareness. Am I feeling lonely or alone or isolated? Where am I kind of making this myself, right? Is there something I am doing to prevent people from getting to know me?
What would be something, so kind of similar before of like, what's something that someone can do? I think the self-awareness, but if someone is feeling like, wow, I guess I can almost see people saying like, I didn't realize I felt lonely until maybe we started talking about it. And so what would be something that either you've done or that you would tell somebody they can do if they're feeling that way? Like, wow, I really don't have that support that I feel like I need.
Right. So it can be as simple as when you're getting your coffee in the morning, saying hi to a stranger. That can be taking one of those bricks down from that wall. It could be something like when you're in a networking group or you're at a retreat or conference, leaving with someone's contact info, finding someone that maybe is in your same line of work that you guys could get together once in a while. And it can be virtual, right? To just share openly and without being afraid of being found out or judged or, thought differently of. Because I think, especially in, higher level, like the C-suite, you have an image to portray, you have a reputation. What do you want it to be? Right? You can't always walk around buttoned up and perfect and expect your people to be able to relate with you and share with you what's really going on. I mean, the worst thing for a culture of a team to deteriorate is that I like how Brene Brown calls it a meeting after the meeting. You've got the meeting, and then out in the hall, they're like, yeah, da, 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 da. You being the leader of that meeting, that is the worst thing, because what are they saying? What's really going on? And having that trusting culture and that honest, open communication is so important to the health of any team and any organization.
And I love that you're talking about this because I see that so much. I saw it when I worked in corporate. I see it when I work with leaders and teams and individuals of this feeling that, well, once you get to this certain level, you have to have this image. And here's the thing is, like I always say, of course, we have people are looking to you as the leader. And so you want to set that direction and you want to, guide people, and you don't want to be walking around like what I always like the hot mess express all the time. At the same time, we need to give that people permission to be vulnerable and to be authentic. And we can't do that if we are acting like robotic all the time.
Right.
And so I love, creating a space for people to say, hey, in a way that we still have professionalism and presence, like we can let our guard down a little bit and say, hey, I'm struggling too, and we're going to figure this out together. Because otherwise, right, you're not opening up any type of environment that people feel like they can share. They feel like they have to have it together all the time. And then all of a sudden they quit, or all of a sudden they have a meltdown at work, and you're like, whoa, where'd that come from?
Right. Exactly. And so setting that example for your people, starting the meeting off with admitting that something happened on the way to work, whatever. And it doesn't have to be super personal. It doesn't have to be super intimate, because there are some things that are private. When we're talking about vulnerability, we're not talking about vomiting our, personal problems and struggles on people who can't maybe handle it or don't really know what to do with it. Picking and choosing who you're sharing what with is super important.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, keeping that in mind. So this is your permission, everybody who's listening. You can be vulnerable. And also, like, there is a time and a place. And I love how you said that, like, you don't have, that doesn't mean that you have to share every little piece of your life. And especially, people that aren't equipped to handle it, or it's not the right space. But finding that place of, if you're feeling so guarded, which as a result, then maybe you're feeling really lonely at the top. Where are those, like, little like minute things, those little moments, micro moments maybe, that you could be more vulnerable to create more connection with people
Right.
and build that environment.
Right. Well, and with any connection, it starts with connecting with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If you are feeling disconnected from yourself, you're going to feel disconnected from others. And having even just a daily 5-minute connection call with you, with
Mm-hmm.
yourself. How am I doing today? Feeling a little irritated. Okay. Notice that. Don't have to judge it. You don't have to pick it apart. You don't have to figure it out and fix it. I'm noticing that,
Mm.
right? How do I want my day to look at the end of, how do I want to finish this? Okay. That's how just being present and connecting with yourself. And again, that self acceptance and identify your emotions without judgment, tuning in to what's going on with you will help you connect with other people.
Okay, everybody, you who is listening, 5-minute connection call with yourself to check in on asking yourself how you're doing. Such a great tip. So, Erin, if you could, and I know I'm almost positive because I ask almost all of my speaking clients this, but if you could shake people and tell them one thing, what would that thing be? You're like laughing, like, oh, I think you have asked me this.
I just like it.
Like literally, like if you could say, take someone's shoulders and like speak truth into them, what would you say to them?
There's so much. Because, I mean, I work primarily with women. And so I think one of the things that I just really want them to know is that you are enough. You don't need other people or other achievements to tell you your worth. You're enough. Full package. And once you believe that, you will just walk through life with your head held high and just kind of brush people off as they try to tear you down. You're enough.
See, you there it is. And they're always different. Okay, and the last question, which is sometimes similar, but I also get different answers. So the name of the podcast is It Starts With You, largely because I believe that everything does really begin and end with us. What does It Starts With You mean to you?
I think just what we were talking about. If we want something to happen on the outside of us, whether it be a better relationship, a better career, whatever that is, we need to start here because it will pour out. Starting here is not selfish. It's not self-centered. It's the starting point of everything that you desire in your life to be. And when stuff isn't going right out there, asking yourself, okay, where have I contributed to this? And I see this a lot in like relationships where they want their one person comes to me, they want their relationship to be better. They want the partner to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
I always point them to themselves. How are you contributing to the situation? There's always two, right? Even if it's something small, you can change the way you respond. Can't change the other person.
Mm-hmm. So if we were all to take more ownership of that, just like think of that ripple effect. Erin, thank you
Exactly.
so much for everything that you've shared, so many things and, tips that people can take away. So first of all, tell us like what do you have going on and how can people stay connected with you?
Well, yeah, we're working on this keynote together, and I'm finally in a place where I can say it is finished enough.
Woohoo!
I gotta press pause for a couple weeks, but I'm feeling really good about it. But
What's it called?
September, it's what's it called? Oh no, so I was on to the next subject. What's it called?
You've got it, Erin.
Courage to be seen. How
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability enhances connection.
Mm-hmm. The courage to be seen, how vulnerability enhances connection.
Yeah. But at the end of September 25th, I believe it is, enrollment opens for Self-Awareness Academy, where I will take you through getting to know your Enneagram type and how to apply it to your life. It's not, you're not just a number. We're going to go beyond your Enneagram type and really teach you how to use it to improve your communication, improve your relationships, improve your overall outlook of life. So that's the end of September. It starts second week in October.
Amazing. And we'll
And you
make
can
sure that
find
we
me,
link
you can find me everywhere. I'm everywhere on social media, especially LinkedIn.
all the places and under your name, Erin
Yep.
Slutsky, right? Okay. So
Erin Slutsky Coaching.
we will make sure that we drop all of the links for the to stay connected with Erin and for the opportunities that she has coming up in the show notes. So be sure to reach out to her when you listen to this episode. Be sure to share it with a tip or a phrase, a mic drop moment that Erin shared, and tag both Erin and myself so that we can celebrate with you and really connect with you as well. So Erin, thank you so very much for being on here, for being an amazing client, for bringing your story and your gifts out into the world. And everybody, just remember that it starts with you.